If you're planning to take a cruise with Norwegian Cruise Line, then hopefully the tips and advice in this video will help you to make the most of your time on board. In this video today, I'm sharing with you 20 of my top tips for cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line. If you've just found me today for the first time, then I'm Fraser and I use my YouTube channel to share my cruise experiences with you to hopefully help you plan and have the best cruise experience possible. If you like the sound of that, then it would be great if you would consider supporting my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons. Now let's get started with the first of 20 tips for cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line. And we're talking money, we're talking budgets, and it's really important that you budget appropriately for your Norwegian cruise. The reason why it's so important that you get budgeting right if you're cruising with NCL is that there are so many things for you to purchase when you get on board. It's so important that you don't get caught out assuming that something might be included in your cruise fare and then getting on and realising that it's not. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a fair amount of things that are included in your cruise fare, but on particularly the larger Norwegian ships, there are quite a few opportunities for upselling and upcharging. I will tell you about more of these things as we go through the video today, but some things to think about include the spa, the thermal suite, the onboard cinemas, the specialty dining venues. There are so many opportunities for you to spend money on here, so it's important that before your cruise, you draw out a plan of how much you're able to or how much you're willing to spend and how much you think you're going to be paying for certain things once you get on board. Number 2. As soon as you get onto your Norwegian Cruise Line ship, think about the muster drill. Think about how to complete it and get it done so that you can properly kick off your vacation. If you've never taken a cruise before, the muster drill is a legal requirement of all cruise ships and all cruise lines where they have to explain to passengers what to do in the event of an emergency. For some cruise lines, that means that you have to attend an in-person drill where everybody comes down with their life jackets, gathers on the promenade deck, and that can take quite some time. However, with Norwegian Cruise Line, it is so simple. You can usually watch a safety briefing before you even get on the ship via the Norwegian Cruise Line app. That means that once you get on board, all you have to do is take your room key or your cruise card to your muster station, which you'll be pointed in the direction of as soon as you board, and have that scanned. At that point, they'll give you a really quick safety briefing, and the whole process will probably only take 60 seconds or so to complete. So as soon as you get onto the ship, complete your muster drill and get it done. Number 3. Book any specialty dining venues that you want to experience as early as you can in your cruise. I was really impressed on a recent cruise I took on board Norwegian Breakaway, where they had turned the onboard comedy club into a specialty dining booking venue. It was awesome. All you had to do was go into the venue. You would then be met by a member of staff who would help you make whichever bookings you wanted to on whichever nights of the cruise you wanted to make them. I was really impressed by this because it avoided the need to queue at guest services. It just made the whole process so much simpler. So yes, if you'd like to experience a specialty dining restaurant, get it booked as early in the cruise as you can. And by the way, I would personally recommend dining at Cagney's. I have never had a bad experience in there, so if you're looking for one to try, book Cagney's. Number 4. Download the NCL app from your app store before you even think about leaving the house to head to the cruise port. I see so many people on ships who are stressing about the fact that the ship Wi-Fi doesn't allow access to the app store if you haven't paid for a Wi-Fi package, or people who assume that they've got cell coverage on the top decks, but the reality is, due to the number of people up there, the coverage is really poor. There's also people who assume that the Wi-Fi at the cruise terminal will allow them access to the App Store, but not all cruise terminals have Wi-Fi. So, to be honest, the easiest thing to do is before you leave home, jump on your Apple App Store or your Android Store or whatever your App Store is, and download the app. That will make your life so much easier once you get on board the ship, because you'll be able to book things direct from the app, and you'll be able to see what's on by viewing your freestyle daily from the app, which we'll come back to shortly. On the point of the app, I get asked so many times by people who don't have smartphones, what happens if you can't download the app? Don't worry, everything still works in the more traditional sense once you're on board, but this tip is more for people who have smartphones who can download the app. So yes, number 4, download the NCL app. Number 5, everybody knows that all of the cruise ships out there have an onboard buffet. Everybody also knows that all of the cruise ships out there usually have a main dining room. But my 5th tip for cruising with NCL is to find out which alternative dining venues are also included in your cruise fare and try to use them during the particularly busy times on board, especially during the first few days of the cruise, when people might not realise that they are included in your cruise fare. 2 examples that I would give would be O'Sheehan's, the Irish bar, which you'll find on board a lot of the Norwegian Cruise Line ships, and also Shanghai Noodle Bar. The Noodle Bar was one that really surprised me on board Norwegian Breakaway. I had never come across that on a ship before. For the first few nights of the cruise, nobody seemed to be eating there, but on the final few days of the cruise, it was impossible to get a reservation. I can only assume that's due to the fact that as the cruise went on, people, myself included, learned that you didn't have to pay anything extra to have dinner there. And to be honest, I would give it a big thumbs up. So yes, find out which alternative dining venues are available and eat there during the busy times instead of a very, very busy buffet. Number 6, as soon as you get on board your Norwegian Cruise Line cruise ship, find out which evening entertainment requires booking, and if there are any that need to be booked, get them booked now before all of the seats are taken. So many people assume that you only have to book or reserve a space at a show if it's one that you have to pay extra for, but on the much larger cruise ships, you're going to have to book seats at quite a few of the shows, even those taking place along in the main theatre. Now, it's really straightforward and simple to reserve spaces. You can do this by visiting one of the digital screens around the ship, or if the ship you're travelling on has a box office by the main theatre, you can do it there. I've not got any experience of booking shows via the mobile app, but I believe from what I've been told, you can also do it from the app. Now, the next tip is leaving the subject of booking things and evening entertainment behind, and we're talking about an amenity that's available for everybody in their passenger staterooms. Did you know that you can request an iron or an ironing board to your cabin? So many people don't, and it's such an easy way to get rid of any creases or wrinkles from clothes that have maybe not survived the journey to the ship overly well. All you have to do is call guest services. They will then send an iron and an ironing board up to your cabin or stateroom, and when you're finished with it, someone will come and collect it. Now, obviously, those items are limited supply. They don't carry thousands and thousands of them, so that means that when it's operating on a first-come, first-served basis, if you're looking to use that before dinner on the first night, then I would advise requesting that as soon as you get into your cabin. Otherwise, you might join the back of a relatively lengthy line. Tip number 8. Fully embrace the freestyle cruising concept that Norwegian Cruise Line have developed, because it's one of the key things that make them stand out in a relatively overcrowded cruise industry. I love freestyle cruising for the simple reason that it feels much more relaxed than a lot of the more traditional cruise products out there. On a Norwegian Cruise Line ship, there are no such things as formal nights or gala evenings. You can wear essentially what you feel comfortable in all around the ship, during the day and at night. Now, there are some dining venues that do have some rules, like, for example, no swimwear, no open-top shoes. It is worth checking the dress code policy when you book your cruise so that you don't get caught out. Now, the other thing that I really enjoy about freestyle cruising is the fact that you can simply show up to eat dinner or any meal whenever you're hungry. Dinner is a key one that frustrates me on a lot of other cruise lines, because if you book into, for example, the 8 p.m. dinner sitting, you have to try and make sure that you're hungry at 8 p.m. every evening, rather than if you're hungry at 7 p.m, just go and have dinner. Or if you're hungry at 9:30 p.m, then just go and have dinner then. It's absolutely fine. It's super flexible, super relaxed. So yes, try to fully embrace the concept of freestyle cruising. Tip number 9, make time for the freestyle daily when you cruise, and carry it around with you when you're on the ship or when you go ashore. The freestyle daily is essentially your daily schedule for your time on board a Norwegian Cruise Line ship. You'll have this delivered to your cabin or stateroom every night before you go to bed for the following day. That means that you can lie in bed and you can read what the next day has in store for you. My top tip is to pack a pen in your carry-on with you, and that then means that you can lie in bed and circle what you want to do the following day. Then when you wake up, you can review it before you kickstart your day. Because to be honest, if I was reading a daily schedule or an order of events that had this much detail on it, and I didn't circle it, I would forget everything I'd read and agreed with myself when I woke up the following morning. So yes, freestyle daily, make time for it in your cruise schedule, make sure you read it, and to be honest, have it as your cruise Bible while you're on board, because without it, you won't know what's going on around the ship. Number 10, if you're cruising solo, then take advantage of the fact that you've chosen to cruise with one of the world's leading cruise lines for the solo traveller market. I have cruised solo multiple times with Norwegian Cruise Line, and each time I have been so impressed. They do things that no other cruise line does. Think things like bespoke venues that are only available to solo cruisers, solo drinks meetups, solo dinner tables, bespoke solo events, a solo host or coordinator that acts as a friendly face around the ship to make sure that everything is okay. Honestly, it is one of the most impressive things I have maybe ever seen from a cruise line. As a solo cruiser, you might have to pay up to double fare versus those sharing a cabin with a lot of cruise lines. But with Norwegian, you can often save on that solo supplement, and because of all these extra things that you get as a solo passenger, it actually makes travelling solo feel like a bit of a luxury. So yes, try to fully embrace the fact that you're cruising with a cruise line that values solo travellers so much. Switch off, relax, make some new friends, and enjoy it. Number 11. Does the cruise ship that you're travelling on feature an area called the waterfront? If it does, then promise me that you'll head down there and enjoy it. The waterfront is usually a wrap-around deck space that will be much lower down on the deck than the top deck. If you're cruising on Norwegian Breakaway, for example, the waterfront will feature a number of bars, a number of restaurants, and a number of other venues. The duty-free shops, for example, will also come out onto the waterfront. What this space allows is a much more up-close view of the water, and it also allows you to do things like enjoy a drink at your favourite bar outside, or enjoy your favourite meal at your favourite restaurant outside. So many cruise ships only offer dining on the inside of the ship, and it's one of the things that frustrates me the most, because when I cruise, I want to be out on deck in the warm air, especially if I'm somewhere like the Caribbean or the Mediterranean over summer. So yes, if your ship features the waterfront, get down there and enjoy not only some beautiful food and some great drinks, but also some of the most incredible views out to sea. Number 12. I meet lots of people who assume that you're always going to have to pay extra for things like tea and coffee when you cruise. But the next tip for cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line is that all of the ships within the main buffet restaurant will offer 24-hour tea and coffee making facilities. You'll also have access to water 24 hours, and you'll also usually have access to various juices. That comes in incredibly handy if you're looking to refill your water bottle before you go to bed, or if you want to get a coffee, but you don't want to go to the barista bar and wait in line for a coffee to be made for you. Now, it's not specialty coffees that you'll be getting from the buffet restaurant included in your fare. It's the usual drip coffee that you simply pull the lever and the coffee will pour, but it certainly does tick a box. On the point of being able to refill water, coffee and whatnot from the buffet, it's very useful for you to travel with a travel mug or a refillable water bottle. You can find so many different brands of these cups and water bottles online. You can find loads on Amazon, and I do actually have an Amazon store that I've put some of the ones that I use into. The brand that I always recommend from a water bottle point of view is Chili's, because if I'm cruising somewhere cold, then it will keep my coffee hot for hours. And if I'm cruising somewhere warm, it'll keep my water chilled and ice cold for such a long time. If you'd like to check out my Amazon store for things like water bottles, coffee cups, and various other things that will enhance your cruise experience, you can find the link for that down in the description of this video. Tip number 13. We're staying in the buffet, and I'm going to now tell you about one of my favourite things about cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line, and that is that you've got unlimited complimentary soft serve ice cream, totally included in your cruise fare. This is available pretty much all day. The machine will be available from mid to late morning, and it'll be turned off well into the night. So if you, like me, absolutely love an ice cream cone when it's warm outside, then you're going to love this aspect of cruising with NCL. Ice cream in general on Norwegian ships is relatively widely accessible. You'll find complimentary or included ice cream will also feature during the main meal services in the buffet, and you'll find that if your ship has got an O'Sheehan's on it, then you can go there to purchase ice cream sundaes. So yes, if you're a lover of ice cream like me, don't worry, you're going to be perfectly happy on your Norwegian Cruise Line cruise. Tip number 14. You're going to want to be fully prepared for the glow party on your NCL cruise. The glow party is usually one of the biggest and most popular events of the whole cruise. The way this will work is that if you're cruising somewhere warm, they'll usually use a venue out on the top decks of the ship. I really like on the breakaway class ships when they use the Spice H2O adults only venue at the back. That then becomes a huge open air nightclub. If you're cruising somewhere cold, then a venue on the inside of the ship will usually be used. All that you need to do for the glow party is pack a white outfit or something white. In my case, I like to wear just a white t-shirt and a pair of jeans as an example, but you could go all out. I'm sure the possibilities there are absolutely endless. There will be a supply of glow sticks and various other glowing items handed out by the onboard crew, but if you want to make sure that you get one, then why not consider bringing your own? Pack a few glow sticks, pack a white t-shirt at the very least, and be prepared for such a fun night on your cruise at the glow party. Number 15, this one blew my mind on my first ever Norwegian cruise, and I love it. The 15th tip is that you need to look for the fish and remember that fish always swim forward. You might be thinking right now, what on earth is he talking about? Well, let me show you. In guest cabin or stateroom corridors, you'll often find that on your cruise ship, there will be fish all over the floor. And in fact, the carpet itself is of fish. Those fish will all be swimming in one direction, and always remember that fish swim forward. Therefore, if you're looking at the fish swimming away from you, then that means that you're facing the forward section of the ship or the front of the ship. If you're walking along a corridor and you're walking against the fish or swimming against the fish, then that means that you're walking towards the back of the ship. This Might not make too much sense at the moment, but believe me, when you're walking down that corridor and you know that your room is at the back, those fish will come in incredibly useful. Tip number 16. Find out which of your cruise ports are considered tender ports. Find out the process for booking your tender on your specific ship, and find out exactly when you can book your tender ticket. Now, if you've never come across a tender port before, this one might seem a little alien to you, but let me quickly explain. Some cruise ports out there don't have the facilities to allow a large cruise ship to dock. That could be for a whole number of reasons, like marine life, coral under the water, rocks all around the island. There are so many different reasons why a ship might not be able to get into dock. Now, that's not a problem, because all that will happen is that the large cruise ships will tender just off the shore, and then they'll use lifeboats, tender boats, or custom-built ferry boats to take passengers from the cruise ship over to the shore. Now, all that you have to do from a passenger point of view is visit one of the digital screens around the ship, or speak to guest services, or use your mobile app to book a tender ticket on a tender boat. Now, they are first come, first served, so the sooner you book your ticket, the earlier the tender boat you'll be on. So when you get onto the ship, maybe just ask guest services if you've got any tender ports if you don't know already, and just double check with them when the booking process will open for those tenders to make sure that you get off as early as you want to. Number 17. Consider using some of the most popular facilities on board your cruise ship while the ship's docked in port. There's a number of reasons for this, but to be honest, the biggest reason is that a lot of your fellow passengers will go ashore to explore. That then means that you will have a much quieter cruise ship, and some of these facilities will feel so different to what they would if the ship was at sea. The example I would give you is the onboard spa or the thermal suite. I love to use a cruise ship thermal suite when the ship is in port, because at times I can get that entire place to myself. On a day at sea, it can be so busy in there, and when it's like that, I don't find it overly relaxing, and I certainly don't enjoy spending sometimes quite a lot of money to go in there with so many other people. You'll often find on port days that venues like the spa will offer you relatively significant discounts to go in there in a bid to try and tease you and tempt you to keep you on the ship. So it's well worth it to get a much quieter venue and also save a bit of money in the process. Number 18. Consider watching things like cabin tours or full ship tours on YouTube before your cruise. So many people I meet on ships don't even know that cabin tours and ship tours are a thing, and I'm always surprised by it, especially if it's someone who has followed my YouTube channel for a while. I always, before I go on a cruise, will try to search for my cabin type before I go on, so that I can build up in my mind a bit of an expectation of what I'm going to see when I get onto the ship. I also find ship tours incredibly useful to help me get my bearings on board and to help me figure out what on earth I want to do on there, especially if I'm cruising on a huge cruise ship. Number 19. And I know we don't like to think about the end of the cruise before we've even got onto the ship, but let's now think about the process at the very end for disembarking the ship. The 19th tip for cruising with NCL is that if you're not happy with the luggage tag colours that you receive to your cabin, then make sure that you go and pick up alternative tags as early as you possibly can in order to ensure that the ones you want are available. Now, what do I mean by this? On all of my Norwegian Cruise Line cruises, I found that luggage tags have been delivered to my room by my stateroom attendant while I've been ashore, a few days before the end of the trip. That means that when I come back into my cabin, there are a number of luggage tags alongside disembarkation instructions. Those luggage tags will then correspond to a disembarkation time slot. So, for example, 8 AM to 8:30 AM, or maybe 9:30 AM to 10 AM. There have been a few occasions where the one that I've been allocated hasn't quite suited what I actually need. For example, if I've got an international flight that I need to catch later that day, I'll always aim to disembark a little earlier. The flip of that being that if I'm staying for the night at whichever port the ship's arrived into, I'll try and switch my luggage tags to get as late a disembarkation time as possible. You can usually find alternative luggage tags available up by guest services. All you have to do is go to usually the display board that's got all of the passenger information on it. You'll be able to pick whichever luggage tags that you would require until that colour runs out, and you can simply attach that to your bag, and that's your new time to disembark the ship. Number 20. My final tip for now for cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line is to build a to-do list for your cruise ship before you get on board. Some Norwegian Cruise Line ships are absolutely enormous, and they have so many facilities on them. If you don't do a bit of research and build a list before you get on board, there's a pretty high chance that you're going to miss out on some of the best things to do. Now, this tip doesn't just apply for the larger ships, because you'll find on the smaller ones, there are some hidden things that you'll learn through ship tours, cruise vlogs, that the majority of the passengers would never know about unless they were doing some research. So yes, build a to-do list. You can do this by having a look through deck plans on the cruise line website to see what facilities are on there. You can also use things like YouTube. Check who's been on your cruise ship, check their reviews, check their video diaries, and see what they've been getting up to. And that's it. That's my top 20 tips for cruising with Norwegian Cruise Line. I really do hope you've enjoyed this video today, and I hope that you have the best time on your Norwegian cruise when your time on board comes around. If you have enjoyed this video today, and if you'd like to join me in another one, then why not join me over in this video? Here, I share with you 15 things that I think everybody should do on day one of their cruise, regardless of which cruise line they're travelling with or which cruise ship they're travelling on. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I'll hopefully see you over there.